Good morning and welcome to the Northwest Event Show's next iteration of Industry Conversations. My name is Brett Robertson, President and Partner of SHW, and I'm thrilled to be moderating today's discussion. Today, we're bringing together a dynamic group of event professionals discussing what it means to gather confidently as we charge headfirst into real-life, in-person events. Can you believe it? Real-life events. I can't wait. Our presenters are from coast to coast, and we cover a range of subjects that I hope you can learn from and take back to your own organizations. But before we kick off our chat, a little bit of housekeeping. I'd like to thank our sponsors. First, I'd like to thank the Search Foundation, one of our long-term partners here at the Northwest Event Show and our Industry Conversations. The Search Foundation are by event pros for event pros. They provide financial help for events, meetings, and catering professionals in crisis. Super important organization with the nature and state of our industry right now. We'll have a little bit more information on them later on, but if you can donate to them, it would be greatly appreciated. I'd also like to thank our social media partner, Project Bionic. By honing and humanizing social media presence, Project Bionic creates strategic, customized roadmaps for growing authentic relationships between company and community that convert leads into customers and customers into advocates. I'd also like to thank our media partner, MC Event Consulting. Mark, their CEO, is actually one of our charismatic presenters today. MC Event Consulting is a team of professionals committed to excellence-driven sustainable event management, as you would love it. I'd also like to thank our speaker gifts sponsor, Campo's Coffee. Campo's is an Australian specialty coffee company that are professionals motivated by ethics and philanthropy in coffee. They've got a ton going on, and the good news is that you can purchase micro lots from them as well. And lastly, awkwardly, I want to thank the Northwest Event Show's production partner, which is my company, SHW. Again, we're super honored to be partners with the team over at the Northwest Event Show. We're an award-winning full-service event agency. We've been based in Seattle for a young 43 years, and we design and deliver high-impact events and experiences around the globe, both large-scale in-person gatherings and digital broadcasts just like this one. Well, thank you all for joining us today for a fantastic and interesting topic as we talk about confidence to gather and the event world this year. I'd like to introduce our panel. We have David Young. He's the Senior Vice President of Business Operations at the famous Seattle Seahawks and First and Goal. Hey, David.
Hello there. Hi, thanks. Happy to be here today. Excited for the panel. Really excited to talk about our venue and what we've done over the last year to prepare during the pandemic and prepare for the recovery, which is ongoing at this point, and hoping for bigger and better things to come for sure.
Fantastic. Well, really excited to have you here and hearing your unique perspective. Second, we have Mark Catuno. He's the CEO of MC Event Consulting. Great to see you, Mark.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be discussing what we've been working on for the last year and a little of the innovation that we've started to plan to be able to go back in person.
Great. Well, thanks for making time. And then lastly, we have Melissa, I know, forgive me if I'm saying this correctly, Melonson, who's the founder and CEO of Lumi Agency. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, hi everyone. Excited to be talking about this. We are a digital agency historically, but we actually started doing live events during the pandemic. So we have a lot of interesting stories to share about how we did that and also plans for the future.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for being here. It's like I said, we're at a very interesting time in the world as things are opening up, and in some cases things are starting to shut back down again, and rules are changing on a day-by-day basis. So super excited about the conversation that we're about to have, and yeah, let's get into it. So let's start with the first question. Melissa, you mentioned live events and how you've started to do live events. What are some of the live events that you're working on right now, and whereabouts are they? And yeah, give us some background on that.
Yeah, so Lumi is based in Hartford, Connecticut. We're in New England, and we have yeah, like I said, it's kind of a strange story, and people don't believe it when I said it, when I tell them this. But historically we were a digital agency, but when the pandemic hit, we do work with a lot of hospitality clients, hotels, resorts, restaurant groups within our agency, and of course they were hard hit through all of this, as we all know. And so not only did we want to do something that would help to drive business for those clients of ours, but we're also huge community advocates here in the city of Hartford, and also wanted to just support our local community. So we did a few things. We created an event series called Picnic in the Park last summer, right here in one of our large parks, where we were able to sell picnic baskets on behalf of local restaurants to support their businesses and get people to gather safely. So this was last summer. It was the first large scale event that the city permitted. So they had to basically rewrite all of the event guidelines for us to be able to hold it. But it was great. We had up to 300 people per event, had live music in the park. We had our local baseball team come out and draw huge 16-foot social circles all throughout the park. And so people felt really comfortable going, distancing, but still supporting those businesses that needed it so much, as well as local musicians.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was
and
really
you mentioned
fun.
that you worked with the city. That's an interesting point. How was it working with the city? And it sounds like they were quite accommodating.
It was touch and go for a while. They didn't know what to do. I think a lot of cities at that point didn't know, should we be allowing this? They had a lot of concerns, but they ended up approving it. We showcased exactly how we were going to keep things very safe for all of our attendees. And eventually, about a week before we were supposed to hold the first event, they approved it. So we quickly got to work and got to promoting. But yeah, I mean, it was half selfish on my part. I really just missed being among my community and I knew that if we could use a little bit of imagination and do things a little bit differently, we could still have safe live in-person events.
That's fantastic. Well, and I think the sentiment of the community is why I love the industry that we work in so much. So that's great. And Mark, what about yourself? Are you planning anything live at the minute? And can you talk about some of those events?
Absolutely. So our next live will be August. It's actually in Barbados. So we are going out of country. And so we've been dealing a lot with, the COVID guidelines, dealing with another country's guidelines. As of this month, they just updated their guidelines, which impacted our group to ensure that everyone actually had to be vaccinated to enter, to partake in our program. We are doing a fun event out there with a fun block and everything. We're doing it at the Sandals Royal Barbados. And what's interesting about it is Barbados actually, and we've been researching other countries and stuff, has a very interesting approach where you have to be vaccinated 3 days before you have to get a PCR test. On arrival, get an additional PCR test. I was like, that's going to be one of the safest places I've ever been because everyone has to be vaccinated. And the amount of tests, I was like, wow, I can't wait to just breathe their air.
Yeah. Classic case of better safe than sorry. It's interesting. And then Mark, obviously we're navigating a complex environment right now. How are you keeping yourself up to speed on changes? Have you done any certifications? Anything that we could give our viewers advice on staying up to date with the ever-changing world we live in?
Absolutely. So I have taken the COVID compliance officer certification. I've taken emergency management classes through MPI. I believe in continuing education. I am currently getting a double master's in Homeland Security Emergency Management from American Military University. I currently am enrolled in the WHO's program for mass gatherings. I'm happy to have people go and visit me on LinkedIn. I have a ton of over 19 certifications. I've definitely used this time through the pandemic to increase more. I think knowledge is key. One of the resources I would also definitely recommend is the Event Safety Alliance had an amazing workshop series on outside gatherings, because as we've now shifted to outside, I think people are not realizing, how weather impacts emergency in regards to lightning storm. How do you evacuate that people? Also making sure that, you know, space to be able to evacuate and leave enough social distancing, how important that is. And how to properly also prepare an outdoor event. I really think that also the new guidance book that's been put out by the Event Safety Alliance is definitely a great starting guidelines. Besides looking at, you know, your local city, so I would definitely recommend a few of those resources.
Fantastic, thank you. That's great. And Melissa, do you have any guidance for the group on keeping up to speed on the latest and greatest?
You know, things have changed so much and continue to change. So we are just keeping on top of all of the guidelines and planning, you know, in every event that we are planning for this year, planning for the worst case scenario so that we are prepared. You know, at least then we can loosen up any restrictions if things are looking better. And yeah, just continued education, like Mark just mentioned, is really important, but sometimes, you know, you just have to roll with the punches as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's persistence is the key, I think. And David, you're in a bit of a unique situation as you know, the type of events that you run with the Seahawks and First and Goal. Can you talk about some of the things that you guys are doing to stay abreast of the latest and greatest? You know, given that you guys are in a bit of a unique situation as it relates to the events that you run.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we when the pandemic started over a year ago, we were hosting mass gatherings, and we were one of the first venues to really have to deal with an employee that tested positive, which thankfully that employee was fine and there was no spread documented from that individual. But at that point, if we recall all those months ago, there was a lot of unknowns. And it all kind of happened really quickly from the time we had our last Sounders match to about 4 or 5 days later when the governor here in Washington State and across the country, other jurisdictions enacted prohibitions on events, enacted lockdowns, schools closed. And at that point, we really thought this was going to be temporary. I think all of us could not have foreseen we'd be here almost 14, 15 months later, still under some sort of event prohibition. So we began immediately, even before the lockdowns, back in February of 2020, building out our plans for COVID mitigation, for cleaning, for sanitation, and for reduced capacity at that point. We really thought that we would be able to continue through and host events in a reduced capacity situation. Obviously, that didn't happen. But then we pivoted real quick after the governor did enact the prohibition on events to build out this plan. And we knew, because of our stature and standing here in the Northwest and really nationally, that we would be looked to as a resource, and that we had that responsibility to network with our peers, collect best practices, and build out a safety plan that would allow us to get back to events. At Lumen Field and Lumen Field Event Center and the WAMU Theater, we host nearly 180 events, and over 2.5 million people go through our doors every year. And the most high profile of those events are obviously Seattle Seahawks games and Seattle Sounders matches. But we host everything from major consumer shows, boat show, home show, auto show, art fairs, corporate events. Amazon has rented out our entire facility for their corporate parties. So we do a variety of events. Anything you can think of, from sumo wrestling to roller derby, we've done it. So we've got a unique, as you say, situation to plan for all of those eventualities. And then as we're advocating with the state and the county for what events can come back, prioritizing and advocating for those events based on, which are outdoors, which are indoors, which are more likely to come back sooner and be safer, but plan for the full breadth of those. So it's been quite the undertaking for our staff, but we didn't do it alone. We used our resources, other sports teams here in Seattle. We've been meeting weekly for just over a year at this point with the state, with the county, to share best practices, to keep abreast of what the state and county are thinking in terms of what is permissible, how the counts are looking, how the metrics are looking, but then networking out within our industry, whether that's SMA, Stadium Managers Association, IAVM, other teams, our leagues, but also outside. I began my career at Disney and have extensive contacts there. And they've been open in Florida since June of last year. And so we gleaned a lot of best practices from them as well. And now as we're reopening, we've been able to host fans safely at 2 Sounders matches so far. We've had about 6,000, 7,000 at each of those events in a very safe format. The Mariners across the street are doing the same thing. And the great thing right now is that our governor, our county, have always been guided by the science, right? And at this point, no matter what phase we're in, phase 2, phase 3, we're able to host fans in the same format because outdoor, physically distanced, masked gatherings are relatively safe, and the state recognizes that. So we'll be able to continue and hopefully soon add capacity as the recent vaccination sections addition to that guidance has been published.
Great, that's awesome. You mentioned, it's funny you mentioned that we wouldn't think you'd be here a year later. Just I just think back to our former vice president talking about 2 weeks to stop the spread, but here we are. If you remember that. One more question to drive off that, David. You guys obviously have a large workforce of people, vendors that have to come together to put on a football game or a soccer game, or even work at WAMU Theatre. Can you talk about plans that you guys have in place to build confidence in your staff? It's one thing that we're working on without how do we safely bring our teams back together, given how much we have to socialize and be close to other people.
Right. Yeah. Your staff are the most important part of the whole puzzle here, always, right? Whenever you're delivering, in our business, in the live events business, they're your connection to the attendees, connection to your clients, and the most important piece. And I think sometimes they get forgotten, or at least it's not as prioritized the way that it should be, because you're thinking about the end user, you're thinking about the guest, you're thinking about your event client. But your staff, those event staff, are going to be much more of a representative of your organization to your attendees than any of us on this call or any of our staff will be. So yeah, it's really important. On a Seahawks game day, we can have close to 4,000 staff at Lumen Field. Oh, wow. We become effectively one of the largest cities in the state of Washington with over 75,000 people all in one place. So we have to think of ourselves like a small city for the day, with all of the resources that go along with that, including all the information and training and services that need to be provided to your staff. So we've remained engaged with them throughout the pandemic. And from the beginning, when we thought we were only going to be dark for a month or two, which was completely unprecedented at that time even, we were reaching out real regularly. We created newsletters to keep our staff engaged. And then actually started doing phone calls mid to late summer last year, checking in with staff, seeing how they were doing, because we didn't think we would be back up and running anytime soon, but mental health was really important at that point too, and we wanted to take care of our team. And as we went into the football season, we thought we saw a little glimmer of hope, and we started developing our training programs at that point to bring our staff back on. And we recognized that was and continues to be one of the biggest challenges. Is, first of all, some of these staff haven't worked with us in a year. So getting them back up and running and really re-engaging to see if they even want to come back to work. Getting them comfortable with what our protocols are. And the Mariners had a great idea of bringing some health experts on to speak to their entire event staff before their season started, and get them comfortable with what the Mariners had done, and we'll do the same thing. And then once you do bring everyone back on board, ensuring that we've got a module in there for all of our COVID protocols, for all of our safety protocols going forward, because we want them to feel safe. We don't want them to be doing anything that puts them in a bad spot, but also our fans as well, and our ability to host events.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Thank you. And it's as a fan, I appreciate hearing those practices getting put in place. And also as a client too, we use WAMU Theatre all the time. Love it. And the hype right now, or not hype, that's a bad word, but we're talking about hybrid events. everybody's talking about hybrid events, and what does a hybrid event even mean? And so, Melissa, can we talk about how you're getting up to speed, maybe things that you're doing with your agency to prepare for hybrid events, and what even does a hybrid event mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're in a unique situation because we were a digital agency that then started doing live events. So we've always been well prepared and have always worked with a lot of our clients to create different online showcases, webinars. So that for us was a little bit of an easy transition. And we continue to do that. I think looking ahead, we're planning a large scale event for September right now, a design summit here in the city of Hartford. And we are looking to have that be a live event. And we've created it so that it will be safe. It is, of course, a lot of outside activation. It's kind of we expect thousands of attendees per day over the 2 days, but we have spread it out across our downtown. So we've created 5 different design districts that people will be able to walk from, smaller scale experiences, outdoor experiences. And then we also have an educational component, and that's where we will tie into more hybrid activities. So doing any of the lectures and the showcases online as well as in person to keep to provide options. I think it's all about providing options because everyone is different. Everyone's comfort level is still very different and situation.
Yep.
And so I think it's just taking into consideration everyone's different needs and desires and making sure everyone has something to choose from. So we're trying to create as many opportunities as possible to still engage everyone.
Yeah. I tell you, your local city is lucky to have you there, planning all these fun activities. And Mark, same question for you. If you have time, it sounds like you have so much on your plate with your planning events and your education and things like that. How are you getting yourself up to speed on the future of hybrid and what does hybrid mean for you?
Absolutely. So hybrid for us has been a real, key point of us wanting to get back together. Our core business was in person. And so for us, it was, we needed to master, how we wanted to design hybrid in such an important way. And how we went about, starting that is looking at our software partners of who we wanted, how to make sure that, the audience at home will have that same best guest experience, because there's multiple factors when you're looking at hybrid. How does the exhibitor feel? Maybe that exhibitor only wants to exhibit hybrid, and how do we showcase them in person? Maybe the attendee wants to be home, and how do you make sure that they can connect with everyone? And how do you foster those connections? So, now you're looking at incentive programs, and now you jump into, what does a virtual happy hour look like? And so, are we shipping, wine to people's house and then, they're going in person? The other side to the importance of hybrid for us, it really aligns also with safety, because we wanted to fall back on, if we are requiring testing or somebody was to get sick, that we can keep them at home and be able to still. The other factor is we've also did case studying and realized that over 70% of our clients that we were to take on digitally had an impact increase in their events. And so now we want to foster those people that could maybe never afford a full conference pass or travel plus, hotel. Now we're able to capture that additional revenue for them, keep them at home. And I realized a lot of this market when we switched to doing a lot of medical conferences this year, that certain doctors just can't leave their office, or they could only hop in certain times of the day. So it's really important for us to start designing and working with spaces. The other part that we're seeing with hybrid is in regards to screening rooms. So, we used to always have overflow rooms, and now we realize it's the key of importance when it comes to hybrid, where certain people might not want to be in a main keynote room, be at the event, but be in a smaller room with maybe only, 20 people conference style and have monitors in place. So we're realizing a lot of different options. I will say we don't have anything on the books currently for hybrid, but our team is strategizing to get ready for that.
It's super interesting, the flexibility that hybrid gives us. So thanks for that, Mark. And then you mentioned the fact that you're going to Barbados, and it's there's a whole bunch of rules and things that are that you have to go through to operate there safely. How are you? And what are the best practices that you guys are recommending to your clients? And how do you communicate that with your clients as you go through?
Sure. In regards to us researching them and then informing our clients of what the actual events protocol is, or are you asking, or how are
Yeah,
we guiding?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, both,
So,
both. Yeah, so
sure.
so kind of
So
delivering the news to clients and then guiding them through it.
absolutely. So we are definitely keeping weekly meetings with our clients, as busy as my schedule is, to really keep on them on top of what the goals are. As soon as I found out Barbados was not going to admit anybody, it was going to be very stringent. They will admit, but no one wants a terrible guest experience. So for the best guest experience, if you're unvaccinated, you would have literally been trapped in your hotel for 7 days. The program is 7 days, so it wasn't going to be a successful program. So we informed our client immediately for anybody that was going to come and was not vaccinated or due to their own health concerns that this program is not really for them. For this particular program, because it's non-conference style, it's actually a celebration. We are not going with a hybrid approach for this particular program. In regards to how do we foster and make sure the guest experience is the best, we definitely have our own email communication systems to the guest. One of the things that we've also built out is, and we'll be launching in July, is our own event management platform. So we are launching Global Event Control, is our own state-of-the-art event management, from onboarding your staff to making sure they're trained. As Brett said a few minutes ago, that our staff has been out of work for a while, and we are sourcing new staff, so it has a training module. We also have built a whole COVID protocol, and we will be able to program that protocol for the specifics of that event. So they'll get an invitation in, they can upload their COVID results, and then our team will vet that information and be able to then, if we have to forward that on to another place, or we're just able to hold on to that. We are building this in a HIPAA compliant system. My background is in software and coding. That's what I've studied in my undergraduate. So taking that knowledge with my master's degree is really being able to put together a system for us to be able to come back together safely. I think that, what we're looking at is, if somebody was to open and be honest that, they had, uploaded a positive test, then we're just going to automatically switch them to hybrid. If our system is also going to be focusing on contact tracing, which is, I think, sometimes that the events are, losing factor on that, is what does post-event look like and how can we reduce the spread? So we're going to be able to also have a module for contact tracing for those events. We're going to be having catering, lost and found, other event modules to be under one roof, to be able to just make event planners' lives much simpler and also make our clients' lives. I think that, this is no easy task for our clients to come to us and put together gatherings, that we wanted a real simplified system to make this happen.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. That's awesome. And definitely stay in touch as you release your new program, and I can volunteer my agency as a test bed if you're looking for test cases.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, I think, checking out the time, we're going to take a short break right now, and a word from our partner, the Search Foundation.
Hi guys, Kate Pate with Search Foundation. Excited to be joining you again today. Search Foundation is a 501c3 for our industry, by our industry. We help event individuals that are in crisis, and there's a lot of ways that you can help as well. Visiting searchfoundation.org, donating with the text to give simply by texting the word search to 44321. You can purchase one of these great heart pins to wear at all of your upcoming events, or follow along online for part of the story. Our goal for 2021 is to continue to distribute funds to event industry professionals that are in crisis. So visit searchfoundation.org today.
Thank you so much, Kate. We are so excited to be announcing the Search Foundation annual signature event this year in Miami in co-distance with TSC. Please join us on July 21st at 9:30 p.m. at Paradise Plaza, Miami Design District. We are so excited to be gathering again and hanging out with our industry colleagues. You can get your tickets on searchfoundation.org or while you're buying your tickets for TSC. Hope to see you.
Well, great. Welcome back. And thank you all again. And I'm looking forward to the next half of our conversation. So, David, you mentioned in our last segment that there was an update from the governor's office with regards to venues and creating vaccinated sections. Are you able to talk about what that means to you guys and how you're going to implement it and all about it? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. This to us is a big bright spot now on the path to getting back to recovery. And it just makes sense. Like I said before, our state has always been guided by the science, and the science tells you that once you're vaccinated, Everything that we've seen so far anyway shows that you're at little risk of contracting the disease and also little risk of spreading it. So it just makes sense that if you're vaccinated, you can do different things than when you're not vaccinated. And so these vaccine sections, which raises the capacity of our venue, which allows us to forego physical distancing in those sections, just is a next great step that we hope gets us towards, by the fall, much higher capacity, if not full capacity, in our stadium. So at this point, we're able to go up to 22,000 total. 9,000 of which can be unvaccinated, and in those sections, which are separate from the vaccinated sections, physical distancing is still required. So we sell ticket pods, or I should say the Sounders sell ticket pods of up to 6 individuals, and then around that you create a bubble of at least 6 feet, where then the next group sits, and those folks are masked. Everybody's masked in that section. Everybody's masked in the vaccinated section as well. But that creates, obviously our venues and our events are built for density, and we need density. So having these vaccinated sections where you can get another, at least at this point, 13,000 people in the facility, sitting shoulder to shoulder, all 5 of us here on this, 4 of us, excuse me, I can count. All 4 of us here, we could all sit shoulder to shoulder, masked up, if we were vaccinated in Lumen Field right now. So really excited about this, and excited that it's coming now, and we can show that it works, and then progress towards the fall, where hopefully through more people being vaccinated, through less transmission of the disease, we're able to get back to a much higher density, both in the stadium as well as in our event centers too. So included in that provision is additional capacity for indoor venues here in Washington State. So we operate the WAMU Theater and Lumen Field Event Center. Now with vaccine sections, you can go up to 2,000 attendees in an indoor facility, which still doesn't quite get us to where we need to be for the WAMU Theater, but certainly it's a great development, I should say, for trade shows, consumer shows, and other indoor events here in the area.
Great, that's awesome, David. And have you guys talked about how are you going to administer it? Like, did people bring in their cards? Is there a vaccine passport?
Yeah, at this point, the idea is to check cards. We're working with our partner Clear. So at the Seahawks, we have a tremendous partnership with the company Clear that you see at the airports, and they do some great things in sports entertainment as well. On vaccine passports, we've been using them throughout the pandemic for health attestations, which has worked out tremendous for us. They give you a health passport, and you're able to come into the building to show that you've taken the attestation. So we're working with Clear on that front, looking at a few other venues who have implemented vaccine, I guess you would call them vaccine passports, electronic verification of vaccination status. The challenge, I think, is going to be that you've got 50 different jurisdictions with 50 different health systems and databases, and linking to all of those and doing it in a consistent way. We can certainly create something here locally, but how does that help people here in Washington when they travel to New York, when they travel to California, when they get on an airplane? I think that's going to be one of the challenges to vaccine passports or any kind of electronic verification of vaccine status. So at this point, the plan is to show a card, your vaccination card, either the card itself or a photo of that card, and that's acceptable and actually written into the guidance from the governor's office that's a acceptable form of verification of vaccination status. Now, that's certainly open to fraud, right? But I think we have to trust our fans and trust people that those that are vaccinated are truly going to have those cards, and those are not going to be fraudulent cards when we let folks into the facility.
Thanks, David. Thanks again. And so vaccine passports, it's a really hot topic. Some say controversial topic, depending on who you talk to, with some governors all for it and some states all for it, and some governors absolutely adamantly against any type of identification. Mark, can you tell us, what you're seeing in New York and how things are faring out there as it relates to, vaccine information?
Absolutely. So New York has definitely been part of the charge of Vaccine Passport. They have a really cool system that they've launched. It's app-based where if you've been vaccinated in New York and it's been at least 2 weeks post your last vaccination, you can go on and the health system automatically pulls your vaccination records and you have a QR code. Venues are allowed to apply to scan, so you have to be a large space. The private sector has not really been part of this. We've been looking as an event company also if they're letting, and that's where we feel kind of our system will be covering those places that can't use the governmented system. It is very easy to actually do. The other cool thing is that if you didn't want to keep it on your phone, you can print it out. And I think that it really is helping not to have to carry around that paper card. I do agree what David was saying that it would have been best or future planning to make this universal, that would be easier to be able to go to other places across and to have that universal system. I do agree Clear has been killing it in the healthcare section now. Being able to link to your medical records from a testing perspective. They've been working with Delta Airlines to be able to clear passengers. They've been testing it, baiting it out with Hawaii Airline to go to Hawaii, I'm sorry. And so it's definitely been an interesting situation. I think that, New York was still a little bit ahead within regards to they rolled it out, but it's still not formally all being used. Some venues are still relying on Clear that I know personally people I've went to. But I think that it's the foster of at least a state, pushing for this. I'm in regards to, I don't feel that it's a violation in regards to medical health records. I think that it's our foster that if, you know, it's either going to become the venue requires it or the actual organizers requiring this. And, having that hybrid for now as an option to be able to fall back on if, this is uncomfortable for you, here's another option to participate. And I think that that's something where, we've all been cooped up for such a long time. And, as planners, we want to start to gather in person. I think that we need to look at some of these options to be able to, have fun again and be back in person. And, yes, there is definitely going to be some places that are against it. In regards to the states that aren't pushing it themselves, I'm hoping that they allow private systems to go into place like what we're talking about. So at least the venue or the planner has those options. But it's sad that they're not wanting to be so forefront to put their own system into place.
That makes complete sense. And I feel you there for sure. And Melissa, what are you hearing in Connecticut and specifically with your clients as it relates to vaccine identification?
Yeah, I think, again, it depends on the type of event, the size of the event, but I think that, it's definitely part of the conversation as to where it is going to be appropriate and where it will help us and support what we would like to do for in-person events. I'm working with a technology partner right now who through the last year had developed hardware and a platform for allowing offices to go back into office safely. A lot of employee questionnaires and information before they decide to head into work that day. They're provided with a QR code or there's facial recognition opportunity. There's thermo scanner built in. It's a portable kiosk. So we're because it made so much sense for events as well, we're kind of reconfiguring the platform for large scale events. And also for the hospitality industry. So it can be used both on the staff and employee side, either uploading, vaccination records once and not having to do it several times, or answering simple questionnaires that allow you to get a QR code to enter. So there's a lot of different options within this hardware and platform set that I'm excited about and that I plan to utilize in that larger scale event for September. And again, each of those, because it's a kind of a series of different sized and style events throughout our downtown, it will make sense for some of those events and not for some of the others. But I think the key to all of this is getting out ahead, communicating very clearly and transparently with your attendees, letting them know their options and our requirements and allowing them to choose the option that is best for them, whether that is, an alternative hybrid situation, whether it is, uploading the appropriate information to make sure that they will easily be able to access and enjoy the event experience. But marketing is going to play a huge part, marketing communications, pre-event, and all of this.
You stole my next question. So it's a good segue, Melissa. How are you guys going about designing event and marketing strategies in our new world going forward?
Yeah, again, I think it's giving people the right amount of time to properly plan. It's giving them more than enough information, a lot of FAQs, and giving them the ability to easily communicate back, ask questions. And so, obviously there's a lot of dialogue that's happening across a lot of different channels, depending on the type of event. For public events, we're using social media to make sure that we are creating two-way conversations and dialogue with our attendees and with our potential guests to make sure that they feel safe, they have their questions answered very easily, and also, a slew of other digital channels, including email and the usuals.
Great. And David, same question to you, given, working with the Seahawks and things like that. Have you guys adjusted your strategy at all as it relates to marketing football games and other events at the stadium?
Yeah, I think Melissa hit all the key points, and you can't over communicate here in this front. And you've got to remember that your fans, your guests, your attendees have not gone to a live event in over a year. So you're almost communicating the basics again to them. And then beyond that, you've got to over communicate what to expect when you get to the event. Are you requiring people to go in through specific gates? What do they expect to see when they come in? And then there's the whole layer of communicating the comfort level to the fans, that it is safe. Here are the things that we're doing. We're going to tick off all of the safety, sanitization protocols to keep you and to keep our fans, our staff safe. But yeah, you can't over communicate. And as Melissa said, you've got to address every one of your channels also, whether they're digital channels, the direct channels, as well as phone calls. To some folks, we've actually, and the Sounders have made direct phone calls to individuals to communicate some of these plans, sent packages to homes with season tickets or with the packages for tickets that include printed information about the new protocols. So you can't over communicate, whether it's through push in your app. Digital media, social media is really important, really key, and I think the most effective right now, because that can be updated real frequently. You can't over communicate, and you need to be thorough as well. Don't assume that your fans, that your attendees, that your clients know something. You've got to be comprehensive in that communication and not make any assumptions that, oh, well, of course people know they have to wear masks, or for example. You have to be explicit and thorough in that communication.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Mark, this is I'm going to ask you the same question, Mark. I just think this is a very important topic as we're deciding and planning events in the future. Are you seeing anything, or how are you guys and your clients, marketing your events and communicating safety and things like that going forward?
Absolutely. So, the motto that we came up with is like buy with confidence. So you want to really, establish, what the efforts have been put in for that event. And something that I think is truly important also is, which I haven't heard anybody really touch on, not that it's not incorporated, is what the cancellation policy is. What is a reschedule? Or, if you were to get sick, can you move that ticket forward? Or, city guidelines, change that we can't gather anymore. And how does that impact that ticket purchase? I think a lot of, what we've realized is a lot of people have a lot of hesitancy right now to buy, even when the events start to come back. And you're going to want to really use your websites to convince that person of all the effort levels that have been put in place to be able to ensure that they are buying with confidence, that you can get 100% refund if, it was to cancel. If it is a hybrid model, you can go hybrid, and really laying out the different options to them before they click that buy button. I think that your sales page is more important than ever right now. And I think that's something that a lot of people, aren't thinking about, is in regards to, what does, the questions that maybe people aren't coming up with, how often that FAQ page is now being updated with information so that you aren't consistently having to, answer the same question over email, and, to have a chat plugin built into your website to be able to just chat with somebody in real time. That could be the biggest difference of somebody buying multiple tickets or, not. And I think that, everyone really touched on also is those email reminders, and, really also tracking, did they actually open it? Did they maybe not open it? And using predictive logic in regards to having to resend those emails. And, if they are having to upload something, did they not upload and it's the same deadline? Then maybe they need a push reminder on, to go in and upload. Well, if you didn't, now we're going to send you a letter and says we've had to cancel your ticket. And so really using a lot of different logic skills to really, it's, again, we're having to babysit them a little bit more, but it's not their own fault. It's the fault of, it's been a very long process for all of us and a lot of different, protocols. And the one thing is that we all wish that things were going to be consistent from venue to venue or event to event, but things are going to be different. And so really setting the tone on, this is our event, this is the expectation, and, how does that, look different? If you can ask anybody on this panel, I think that, their client has a different expectation of what their event and how, city ordinance rules. Let's just say the city doesn't have a, mask policy anymore, but that particular event does. And so, how do you ensure and also set the terms and conditions? I think that's something that really needs to be revisited, and making sure our clients, attorneys, and ours are revisiting what terms and conditions look like. If you go to the event and don't have a mask and we're going to have to kick you out, you're not getting a refund then because you have not listened to those terms and conditions. I think that this is another opportunity to really make sure that we're using different check boxes on ticket purchases, really, making sure they're reading different guidelines and making sure that's the best guest experience. Something that we launched even with our virtual events is, we like to call them onboarding, so that, we're setting the tone. We've been doing a lot of avatar and virtual reality events for our virtual. And so, we show them behind the curtain. What does it look like? Somebody in the hospitality industry said to me, we're really pulling back the curtain. We're showing them everything that, has maybe not been seen up front, but now we're showing them up front. What does the hotel room cleaning policy look like? What is, how often are we going to be cleaning event space that people are going to be in? And, what does that look like? And I think that this is really a time now for us to also use that as a mechanism for us to go through all those different touch points. And then we have that information. Great. Now we're just going to showcase that to the guest.
Fantastic. Thank you. That is a great answer. And we're just about out of time. And I always like to finish things super positively. We're talking about a pretty serious subject. So Melissa, what are you most looking forward to in the next 12 months as it relates to our industry?
Just continuing to support the hospitality industry, especially my clients in the hotels and resorts and restaurants who have been so hard hit, and just trying to continue to support them and seeing them rebound bigger and better and prepared for the future.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Here's to that tough lot that have gone through hell and back. David, same question. What are you guys looking forward to outside of signing Russell Wilson again and winning the championship?
Yeah, one thing at a time here for sure. Obviously winning a Super Bowl in February is going to be the biggest highlight. But, I was actually at the stadium last week, and we were preparing for the Sounders match, and just seeing people like live, in the office. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into the office. I didn't think that I would as much. I've enjoyed not having the commute. But I'm really looking forward to that. And then looking forward to just, filling the event calendar again, getting people together, gathering, having, 70,000 12s in our stadium cheering on the Seahawks to a win, packing the event center for a WAMU theater concert, putting the auto show, the home show back on, having shows, getting those events back up and running. And that's, I think, what I'm most looking forward to. In our business, we're not a physically distanced business. We need and thrive on being near and next to people and having that density. So getting back to that, me personally, is what I'm most looking forward to. And I know that's going to do a lot of good for a lot of our clients and the businesses that we support in the surrounding community.
Yeah, love it. And I I can't wait to be there at a bunch of those events that you mentioned. Mark, same question for you. What are you looking forward to over the next 12 months?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to a lot of industry gatherings again. I'm excited to, be going to WEC, TSC in Miami. I'm excited to, be networking with colleagues again and, being back at industry gatherings to learn new things and, feel like, we can bound together to move our industry forward and also support, our hotels and airlines again. And, we do a ton of global traveling. So I'm excited to be getting back on the road and, supporting our industry again.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're just about at time. So Mark, David, Melissa, thank you so much for making yourselves available this morning. Really appreciate it. It's a serious topic, but yeah, really appreciate your guys' time today. Thank you.
3. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. Special thanks to SHW and our production partners. We have such exciting events coming up soon. This month, Northwest Event Show Wedding Show on May 15th. We are so excited to be bringing our wedding show industry back together. And guess what? Me and Jackie are back up with Keeping Up with Event Trends May 25th. Catch us on another episode and seeing what's up with our industry and what's trending. But stay tuned on June 14th. Me and Jackie have been working so hard on this event with House of Smith for the Wine and Connect event. We are going to be dropping that link this upcoming week. So stay tuned on Northwest Event Show's social media as we launch Wine and Connect. But we have more information to share. So stay tuned as our next industry conversation, Ignite Creativity, is June 16th. We are so excited for you to join us today and check out all our upcoming events. Follow us on social media. Bye, guys.